All right, everyone, this is the Transform Through Love interview series. My guest today is Yuki. Hi.
Hi, happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me to be on this.
Yeah, yeah, my pleasure. It's so great to finally talk to you. We've been in contact for a while, so it's great to meet virtually. Um, yeah, so let's start with your story. You shared with me a little bit about what it was like for you to grow up and that you've always had kind of a perfectionism going on. And yeah, just share a little bit with us what it was like.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a Facebook group called the Perfectionist Rebellion, and it's really about that. And so I love that you're bringing it in because it's almost really more for myself,
Yeah.
because that's something that I've really struggled with as I've kind of grown up. So as a child, I've only uncovered this recently. I was just a little love bug at heart. I wanted to just be connected with other people and belong. And for whatever reason, I ended up becoming very conditioned to be a very high achieving version of myself, and to have
Hmm.
not even just high standards for myself, but standards that set me apart from other people and made that connection really, it felt impossible. So I went kind of through my childhood where I got the good grades and I was, I think I was a decent child. I think my parents would agree. Um,
Yeah.
Perfect student, and got along really well with people. I was very nice to people, never got into fights or anything like that, but still felt very alienated from people. That's kind of what the perfectionism did
Mm.
for me. Um, so because I held myself to such a high standard and really expected myself to kind of be above and beyond what
Hmm.
I was capable of at that time, I almost placed myself in like another world, like a perfectionism world where I was like the only member. And so, as a child, even though what I craved more than anything else was really like a sense of belonging and a sense of connection, I was so busy and focused on getting those good grades, getting the right extracurriculars, being the perfect student, being the perfect child, that it really brought me out of sync with who I truly was at my core. And that's kind of driven my passion around perfectionism and kind of releasing that and getting back into to who I am and hopefully helping
Yeah.
other people do the same.
Yeah. So it
Yeah.
was more like around being a good student and doing everything right in a way. And do you feel it also was kind of people pleasing? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Absolutely. It was really trading my authenticity for approval, right? So it's
Mm. Yeah.
what I wanted more than anything was that love and connection, but the only way I knew how to get it was to do things right. And
Mm-hmm.
often that meant sacrificing who I was, what I
Yeah.
believed, what I thought, how I felt, which I guess now that I think about it, no wonder there was no place for that connection, right? Because I wasn't fully showing up. I was almost, um, the book Love Warrior by Glennon Doyle Milton, she talks about your messenger. I was almost sending my messenger out to other people, kind of giving the perfect version of myself that I'd hoped they'd like enough to
Mm-hmm.
connect with me, but there was really no depth there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can relate to that. I can absolutely relate to that. And trying to be trying to be liked and
Mhm.
doing almost anything just so that other people would say, "Oh, she's so great. Oh, I like her." And um, for me, I've been through similar experiences, and for me, it was like even completely giving up myself and kind of merging into the other person. Can you
Yeah.
relate to that?
Absolutely. And I
Mm.
think that it, for me, a lot of times it felt like I became invisible. And
Yes.
and it wasn't until, a couple years ago that I actually consciously realized, oh my gosh, that was my goal. I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to be heard because I was so terrified of being rejected, of not being good enough. And so definitely merging into another person. And, that came out the most in my marriage. I got married when I was very young. I was 19 years old.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I was still a baby. And
Oh.
my husband is such a wonderful person. But those were really my formative years. So kind of that teen state that I was in, and also kind of combined with that people pleasing, that perfectionism, I lost myself during the first few years, even though that was really, it was my goal. I was like, no, I'm not going to lose myself. No, I'm going to be this fierce, independent woman. But I hadn't been a fierce, independent woman to begin with, or at least I hadn't consciously recognized who she was. And so, I kind of hit one of my low points during the beginning of my marriage. I was in school. I was in an Ivy League school. I was living in New York City. I was married to the man of my dream. Like, everything was perfect on the outside, and all of these things were what I ultimately wanted, but I was not fully showing up to what the things that I was experiencing. So I had all of these things on the outside of me that were going on, but on the inside, I honestly, to some extent, felt like I was dying. I felt like I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know, who I was, what I wanted, what I was good at. I think I can remember reading a questionnaire at some point. It was like a get to know yourself questionnaire, and they said, "What are your hobbies?" And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have hobbies. I don't even know what I like to do anymore, because I had been so focused on really being what I thought was in partnership with my husband, but kind of almost trying to copy him and follow in his footsteps, I'm ashamed to say, or be the perfect Ivy League student, or be the perfect commuter, or the perfect New Yorker, or whatever, that I was really, my energy was going in so many different places. I was so out of touch with myself that I kind of realized something's really wrong here. Something needs to change. And I was very clinically depressed. I was suicidal. I was very lonely and isolated, not taking care of my body. And so I'd always kind of I knew that I had perfectionism. I knew that was a part of my life, but I'd always dismissed that as, oh, that's something on the surface. That's just something I struggle with. But once I got to this point, I kind of realized, no, perfectionism, it affects my relationship, it affects my body, it affects my health, my ability to move forward with my career. It affects everything.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I love how you brought this questionnaire up, because I had a similar experience years ago, and I did an exercise that was like, list 100 things that you like, that you love. And I was like, I don't know, even 5 things. I was really sitting there, like,
Right.
what could I write? It was so, I was so disconnected from myself. And you just remembered me with mentioning that it's such a disconnect, and you don't even know what you love, what you like, what feels good to you. And that was a long process. So tell us a little bit about your turning point.
Yeah. So my turning point, actually, it kind of came over a period of probably about a year. But it kind of came to a head with a specific experience. But basically what happened is I finished university. I moved out to San Francisco and took a tech job, which was wonderful. I got a lot of experience, but it was one of those things that was kind of good on the outside. I really enjoyed it. It was so much fun. I was learning so much, but also it wasn't fully aligned with who I was. And so, I'd been in such an unhealthy place at university that I didn't really have the tools or the resources to kind of deal with what I was going through. So once I moved out to San Francisco, got my job, I was in a healthier place, and I realized, okay, so something here needs to change. My life is going fairly well, but I'm still not feeling that alignment. I'm still feeling disconnected. And my husband is a health nut. He loves listening to health podcasts. So we were just kind of talking about what career options could I pursue that are really, meant for me. And he came home one day and he said, hey, I've been listening to this podcast. What do you think about life coaching? And it was something that kind of interested me, but also I was a little bit leery. I was like, I don't even know what life coaching is. Like, what is this meant for? And the more I researched into it, I was like, wow, this seems like I think it was kind of one of those first moments where I started to pursue something that lit me up, that I even had that capability to do that. I thought, looking into it, I was like, wow, this is a way for me to use my natural, divinely given gifts to help the world and to, be fulfilled and to help other people be fulfilled and create positive change. So I was kind of interested. So I kind of tiptoed into my very first training session. And it was a huge moment for me where I could just feel the relief in my body. I felt like God just kind of tapped me on the head and was like, Yuki, this is you. This is what you're meant to be doing. And it was a huge relief for me because I had struggled for so long. Who am I? What do I like? What am I capable of? Can I really have what I want? And all of these questions, they really came down to me believing that what I was and what I was meant for was not okay. It was never a question of, do I even have hobbies? Am I even a worthwhile person? Those questions were actually always irrelevant. What it really came down to was I had, fundamentally made myself believe for so long that I was wrong and that what I wanted was not acceptable in the world. So when I came to that life coach training and I learned so much, about myself and also how to help my clients, I really healed through my life coach training and kind of realized I'm not wrong for what I desire. I'm not wrong for having emotions. I'm not wrong for being who I am. And it was a very cleansing experience for me, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. I got sick. I cleared a lot of toxins out of my body. I ended up getting my period that weekend, which I hadn't had for 6 months. I'd been struggling with thyroid problems, depression problems, PCOS, infertility, and all of these things. It's not perfect, but they came so much into sync, even in that first weekend where I had an inkling of what I might be interested in, took some steps toward it, and it happened to work out that this is really where I was meant to be. And it was a really beautiful experience for me.
That sounds really, really powerful. Really powerful. Great.
It was incredible. It was very incredible. And I wanted to take that to other women. I remember other people saying, someone in my life coach training specifically said, it is not wrong to have emotions. And I was like, it was like a whole new world that was opened up to me. And I immediately just felt, I need to tell other people about this. I need to tell other women about this. They need to know. They need to know that we're not wrong for being who we are. We're not wrong for having feelings. We're not wrong for having ups and downs. That is part of who we fundamentally as women have been created to be. And for so long I made that wrong. And I had this moment where I just felt, if even one woman could know that she's not wrong for being who she is, if even one woman could know that she doesn't have to keep trading her authenticity for approval, if even one woman could know that she is okay just as she is and she's lovable just as she is, and that there are people out there waiting and ready to love her and accept her for that, it just made me so thrilled and passionate and excited. And I said, I have to go share this.
Yeah. Oh, that's really, really powerful and very beautiful. And I feel, just as you were saying that, I felt, wow, this is such a deep and profound message. And not only need a lot of women to hear this, but this is something that we need to tell our children, that we need to tell our husbands, our partners. We need to train them in a way to see that, to see, okay, emotions are normal. They are a part of us. Each of us has a ton of emotions every day. So this is just who we are. It's a part of ourselves, like our physical body, our mental body, our spiritual body. And so I really, really love that. So you became a life coach. You are a life coach. Yeah. And so who do you work with most? Is it also women who are, let's say, perfectionists and in that same space where you were in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, I actually tend to work primarily with millennial women. Mm-hmm. And yes, millennial women who have these really high standards and expectations for themselves. Mm-hmm. What I've noticed is that the women who've been coming to me the most are primarily experiencing issues in their relationships, whether with their significant other or with a mother-in-law or with a friend or a family member. And what we most often end up discovering or uncovering is their relationship with themselves. So in that way, it's not overtly the same thing that I experienced, but it ends up paralleling quite a bit, that all the things I was experiencing on the outside, or the pain that I was experiencing were all exactly due to my relationship with myself. And so I think ultimately that's what I do is I help women really come home to who they are. They might have things all fine on the outside, or they might have everything okay except for this one specific area of their life, whether it's perfectionism or health or relationships or whatever it may be. And it typically comes down to there's something within themselves that's off. There's something they're not listening to. There's something they're not connected with. There's something that they're making fundamentally wrong. At any time that we're making ourselves wrong, it's hard to be in partnership with ourselves. It's hard to be in sync with ourselves.
Right.
We can't very easily manifest or move forward if we're out of touch, if we're pushing against ourselves. And that's how I felt for a long time. Well, most of my life, that I felt that I was at war with myself. I had this constant inner battle, and I just thought, oh, maybe it's because I'm Japanese American, I've got these two sides. Maybe it's because I'm Gemini, I have these two sides. But I think a lot of it, too, was unconscious choice. I didn't realize that I was choosing to be at war with myself because I didn't know any other way to be. So that's what I'm really passionate about, is helping women to come to peace within themselves, not just in a Zen and meditation type of way, but also in a very fundamental way of understanding themselves, getting to know themselves, not banishing or abandoning themselves any longer, but instead welcoming themselves with open arms and saying, I love you, I accept you, I embrace you, and I'm here to partner with you, and really claim that power and then continue to be go-getters. I think a lot of times we make high achievement wrong or high standards wrong. And I don't actually think that any of those things are wrong. I think that the abandonment of ourselves is what's painful, and the self-hatred or the self-judgment is what's painful. So instead, if I can help women get in partnership with themselves to meet those high standards, or to create standards that are more attainable for them, they don't have to sacrifice their value of high quality for also being happy and living a great life.
Yes. Oh, I love that. And
Yeah.
just what you said, it touched me very deeply. That you said something about being at home with yourself, and I feel a lot of women, especially nowadays, feel they have lost their home, with themselves, and they search for some validation from outside. They search everywhere. Maybe they even search in relationships to find that home, right?
Yes.
And it's so beautiful that you just, how you shared that, that this is what needs to be reconnected, right? To be at home with yourself. And that's, I just love it. It's beautiful. Great.
It's really something that's passionate to me. I think everyone deserves to have a home. Everyone deserves to have a place where they belong, and what better place to have that be than within ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So you shared that you kind of felt like that when you were married.
Mm-hmm.
So has your relationship also changed within all this process, and would you like to share a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, my relationship has changed quite a bit. It's not perfect at all. I think I had this view of, if I fix X, Y, or Z, then things are going to be great, things will be perfect, and we'll be totally in sync. And that's not the way that it's played out. But how it has played out is I have grown and developed myself and come into partnership with myself in such a way that commands a different type of environment within my relationship. So before, I knew that something was off. I knew that I loved my husband very deeply, but we weren't quite connecting. I wasn't at home with myself, so it's kind of impossible to be connected with someone if they're not there.
Yeah.
So I really was quite obsessed with, I've got to fix this, I've got to fix that. It was very controlling, very domineering type of state. Or I would, completely flip to the other side of, okay, well, whatever he wants is okay. He probably knows best. I should just listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though my husband is it didn't make sense on the outside. My husband's a very empowering person. He believes so much in equality and in mutual respect. And so for me, I was like, how could I have such a feminist loving husband and still not be connecting or still not be, it wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
So the more that I have changed and evolved and come at home with myself, the more I've released the control, the more I've released having to take inventory and stock of my relationship all the time. And instead, I've been able to focus on energy and really transferring love to our relationship and transferring love to my husband. And as I said, it's not perfect, but it seems that the more that I respect and love myself, the more I take care of myself, the more I'm kind to myself, that naturally flows out towards him. I've noticed that whatever standard I hold for myself, I also hold for him. So if I'm holding the standard of I love myself all the time, I accept myself all the time, I'm fine just the way I am, that applies to him as well. And it seems, obviously I can't speak for him, but it seems that in our relationship that's created a space where both of us can really feel more comfortable and open and honest in being vulnerable with each other. And it's something that takes time. It takes a lot of practice. And I'm sure there's many, many years ahead. But I can say that we are more in sync than we've ever been before. We're more connected than we've ever been before. And the best part is that it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like I had to make him love me or I had to make him be nice to me, right? It seems we're more in a place of we're growing as partners together. And creating that home, from our individual respective homes.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah,
That's so
it's
beautiful.
wonderful.
Yeah, and I can just speak from my own experience. I'm married for a few years now as well. And I feel a relationship never is perfect.
Right.
There's always something. It it is perfect in its imperfect
Right.
imperfectness. I don't know if it's the right word, but by being imperfect, it's kind of perfect. So I feel that, as you just shared, the more we love ourselves, the more we are connected with ourselves, and the more we are at home with ourselves, the more we are at home with our partners as well. So this is really, yeah, I just love that you shared that as well. And I see that you're doing a lot of traveling with your husband, right?
Yes, we
Oh,
are.
great.
Yes, we are heading to Paris next week, and then we'll be in Rome, and then we'll be in New York. So, and
Wow.
that's not something we would have ever. I can remember saying to him 2 years ago, I want to be so badly that couple who's always going on trips. I want to always be traveling and visiting friends, and I don't know how to get there. And he said, I don't know either. And the more I've come into sync with myself, the more he's come into sync with himself, the more the opportunities are naturally rising up, and we feel more, we feel more empowered and ready to take them. And so, in that way, our life is slowly becoming one that we really enjoy together. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and it shows, it really shows. So I see your pictures on Facebook and Instagram and wherever you share these. And I always feel like, wow, this is cool. This is such something a lot of people dream of, go on trips with your husband or with your partner and just enjoy life. And it really shows that you have so much fun together. And it's, and you're always smiling. And it seems like you have such a great time together. And I just can feel that you're so connected to each other, which is really, really beautiful.
Thank you. Yes, I think we are. And I think the best part to me is really realizing I don't have to be perfect to enjoy my life.
Yes.
And my husband doesn't have to be perfect to enjoy his life. And our relationship doesn't have to be perfect for us to enjoy. Because I was in such this place of travel and happy relationships are for people who have it all figured out. And they know how to do things. They totally know the right way to live. And they're super happy. And, I don't think we're alone in this. We take trips even though we fight when we travel. Honestly, we are very connected with each other, but on the plane rides over, both of us get cranky and we have a fight. We go and have a good time anyway. And the standard is not nearly as high as I thought it was. It's literally just a matter of buy the plane ticket, hop on the plane, go to the hotel and enjoy yourself. You know, it doesn't have to be, oh, I need to have reached this level of self-awareness before I go, or I need to have, you know, reached this milestone in my relationship with my husband before I go. And it's such a relief to me to realize that, because I am so not perfect, and it's so much fun to not be. It's so fun to not be. And it's really, it's so many things, you know, it's juicy, and it's frustrating, and it's hard, and it's fun, and it's terrible, and it's loving, and it's lovely, and all of these different things. I really feel like I'm more of a human than I've ever been. And I feel like my relationship is so much more human and yet divine than it's ever been. And so that's been one of my concerns in the past of, do I make it look like, you know, everything's perfect on the outside? Because that's not, you know, that's not my goal. But my goal is to show people, because I'm sure when people meet me in person, they recognize very quickly, Yuki is very human. And so being able to show people, I still go and enjoy my life. I still go and, you know, do the things that I enjoy. And there's no secret standard that I have to meet. There's no secret standard anybody else has to meet. And for me, the people who have done that for me, shown me how to enjoy life while they're also dealing with trials, or, you know, working through things, or having the same issues come up over and over again. It's so inspiring to me that we can all enjoy this life together without you know, an invisible standard. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel so much has to do with giving ourselves permission.
Yes.
So as you just said, you know, you always thought, oh, I have to be at some place to be able to live this life, to go, you know, on a vacation or traveling somewhere. Right. And I remember myself thinking about things like that as well. Oh, when I reach that, then I can do that. And now it's like, no, I give myself permission to do that right now, even though I'm not where I thought I need to be. So this is really, this is just a great example. And as you just said, it feels like being human and being more alive, right? Just living and not waiting to live someday, right?
Right, right. And I thought that it had to be this, I have to buy, so I got to this place of, okay, I'm going to live in the moment and I can live my life. And so I thought, I have to buy all my train tickets now, I have to buy all my plane tickets now, I need to plan all my trips, almost get it in one go. And then I realized it's not about the action, it's about everything that you share on, like loving myself right now in this moment, because that's what those excuses were when I would say, oh, I can't do this until that. It really was, I don't love myself enough yet. I don't love myself enough yet to take myself on that trip, or to have this experience, or to even allow myself to dream. And I don't want to turn it into something where it sounds like, oh, if you love yourself, you'll take yourself on a trip, or if you love yourself, you'll take yourself shopping. Yeah, that's not necessarily how it works. But giving ourselves the loves to really listen to ourselves. Why do I want to do this? Why is this important to me? Well, how possible is it really? Could I potentially make this happen now? And it doesn't all come at once. You know, I think there's some trips where I'm like, yay, gung-ho, let's do it. I feel totally confident and great. And then there's other trips where I'm, you know, working all the way up to the hotel, and I'm anxious and I'm nervous, and I'm walking up to the gate thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't take this vacation. Maybe I'm not worth it. And then slowly over time, as I practice it more, I'm getting better at attuning myself to, this is what I desire. It's okay for me to have what I desire, and I'm not wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us, where can people find you? So if you work mostly with women, or... Yes. Okay. So where can these women find you? They will find you on Facebook. We already shared about your group.
Yes. Yep. The Perfectionist Rebellion. They can join anytime. I've also got my website, www.yukigravietnapp.com. And I'm actually most active on my Instagram. The handle is just my name, Yuki Graviet Knapp. That's where I post all my travel pics. That's where I post a lot of my inspiration. And those are kind of the main places to find me. I'm always open for people messaging me and sharing with me their experience, and it's cool to connect with people. I just love what I do.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. And Instagram is so much fun, isn't it?
It's so much fun. It's
I
so
love
much
it.
fun. I love it so much getting to scroll through the images, and
Yes.
it's my favorite platform for sure.
It's better than television, I feel.
I It's like live television.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So much fun. All right. So thank you so much for
Thank you.
sharing your
It's such a
story with
pleasure.
us. And
Yes.
yeah, I feel we will see a lot from you in the coming weeks and years.
I think so.
And yeah, everyone join the oh, I can't even talk. So this is not perfect.
Perfectly
This is real
imperfect.
life. The Perfectionist Rebellion.
Yes.
It's a really cool group.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, and
Thank you.
we'll see you soon.
Okay.
Bye.